Welcome back, everyone. Well, regardless of your personal feelings towards the monarchy, they have been public figures to varying degrees in all of our lives. From our finances as the face of our currency to our courts system and more, when public figures of this magnitude pass, we often reflect back on where were you when? It's a strange thing that we do when talking history. And joining me live now to talk about memorializing those we may have never known is Dr. Janine Hubbard. Thanks so much for being here this evening.
Oh, well, thank you as always.
So grief is a strange thing. It brings about many typical reactions like sadness and worry and feelings of emptiness. And these are expected reactions. But what happens when it involves the death of someone we don't know? It's sort of a different side of grief.
Well, and it's interesting because some people can experience that full realm of grief feelings for someone they've never met. And oftentimes they're really caught off guard by the strength of their reaction. Whether it's someone who, was sort of indifferent towards the monarchy or didn't really think a whole lot about it, or maybe even had some really conflicted or some negative thoughts, people suddenly realize that they're actually experiencing a grief or a mourning response to someone, especially, I don't think we've had any public figures who've had the presence that the Queen has. So in some ways, this is unprecedented in terms of watching a public reaction.
Is it strange to say that sometimes people might even mourn collectively because it is a shared or a commonality sort of experience, that it's part of our generation? We've all gone through this where we were when moment?
Oh, no question. And what we call that is a flashbulb or a light bulb moment. And we've had many of them over the years, including, unfortunately, the death of Diana. But what we find is sometimes we're really surprised by the feelings that are evoked in this kind of situation. Again, the number of people I've spoken to just in the last hour talking about whether it was a royal visit, whether it was a childhood memory. For a lot of people, she was our grandmother or our parent, or reminded us of individuals from that generation. So that there's always this kind of formed connection. Could be a love of corgis, could be a love of the outdoors, but there are surprising connections that people find, and they do want to share those stories, and they do want to talk about them.
I guess maybe that's a good thing, is to be able to get around and chat those types of things. And like we say, regardless of how you feel about the monarchy, perhaps it gives an opportunity to talk about things that you weren't pleased with the monarchy.
Oh, no question. And I'm hoping that this does open up some collegial conversation for people, and also remembering that you can separate an individual from the institution of which they represent. And I think I'm hearing that a lot from people, that they may have very strong feelings about the monarchy, but somehow the Queen was different, and they're able to kind of recall on a more personal level. And one of the best ways, as we all know, as anyone who's gone through the loss of a loved one, is some collective storytelling. The good, the bad, the ugly, the funny. All of those are ways that we process big reactions and big emotions. And so over the next couple of days, absolutely make sure you're doing that. If that brings you, some comfort and some joy, be careful, because I think there's going to be a lot of round-the-clock information, so that if you're starting to feel overwhelmed by it or overly impacted by it, just be mindful of your reactions and give yourself a little bit of a break as needed.
Dr. Janine Hubbard, thanks for breaking this all down for us. Appreciate your time as always.
Anytime.